Hello and welcome to I Am a Phenomenal Woman Bright Books Tour. We're so happy that you joined us tonight. We have some special guests for you tonight. Of course, if you've been following our page, then you know we've been highlighting phenomenal women from all walks of life all month long because March is Women's History Month. Now, of course, the reason why we decided to, have this book tour is because there are so many women who are contributing to the history of our world, and we need to highlight those women so much more than what we do. And I'm so glad that we have this month to do just that. And in fact, our platform is geared towards women all month long, as I mentioned to you earlier. Now, our special guest tonight, she has so many hats. She's doing some phenomenal things, contributing to our history, and I can't wait for you to speak to her. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Sandrian Nelson-Moon.
Hi. Hi.
How are you?
I am good. I'm good. My voice is gone, but I'm good.
Well, you're always doing this, that, and the third. So what else can we expect? Now, of course, you're no newbie to our show. We've had you on the show talking about your children's book. But for those who are just joining in tonight, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started into your journey.
Well, let's say, as far as books are concerned, I honestly, I started off with the kids' books because for me, writing something more adult is kind of tough, if you know what I mean. Especially when you want to write something good, you got to dig into something really deep to put that out there. So I started off with the children's books because, first of all, I used to create these little stories with my kids, and started off with that. And it was just so much fun. It was just so engaging. Watching those things come to life was, I think, the most mesmerizing part of being a children's author. So after doing that first one, I decided to do another, which comes out in April also. And that one actually has a coloring activity book attached to it. That's another fun story. But my whole point in writing even children's books is to kind of highlight more. I want children to see themselves in the story. There's I think about 11% of characters in children's stories that are African American. So I wanted to kind of push that to the forefront within the literary world, and kind of go from there. So that's basically what started writing. And from the children's book, I transitioned into finally touching on a more intense topic and birth something that I've been carrying for a long time.
Right. Now, of course, I want to back up for a few moments because you speak of, adult books as well, but you've written a new book that's coming out later in June. Tell us a little bit about that.
That book is, let me put it in the nicest way, is my whole life. That book is majority of my life. It is literally telling a story about pain, trauma, what it can do to you. I think a lot of us go through it, but we don't recognize what it can do in the interim, how much damage is still left after having it. And a lot of us, I guess within the culture, some of us think, well, we don't need therapy. It's not something we do. We're Black. We don't go to therapy, but you realize as you go, on to relationships and other things that you're having some issues with certain things. Some of us are around in denial and we choose not to talk about them or, deal with it. But a lot of who we are stems from who we were as children, our experiences as children, the things we go through. And I wrote this book because there's a lot of trauma victims, Black, Caribbean, from the, more or less in the culture where no one wants to necessarily touch on these topics in the homes, and I'm trying to bring it to the forefront where people can get to understand what the victims feel like in that situation, and help the victims themselves to find a way to cope through that situation, and then let them know and understand that after it, there is still hope for you. You can still come out and do some amazing things, as long as you first rectify this situation, recognize what it is, and then start to build on how do you come out of it. And you can even start with the small steps, but first is to acknowledge what it is. Acknowledge, I am a trauma victim. I went through these things. I need to fix these things. And then I give more or less a story of my life and some of the things I went through and how I dealt with it, and hoping to catch someone, at a young age before they transition to their 30s and, get stuck in a kind of, zone where we kind of go into a routine of who we are before that process and that changeover. So we can try, I can try to help them steer themselves into a better place. So when they get to their 30s, even with that, they can say, you know what, I did go through it, but I'm here because I made these choices, and I don't have to live with the feelings and the things that I went through or have them affect me in everything I say, do, and operate in, so that's more or less what this book is about.
Well, of course, tell us the name of your book. I'm going to show it as you're telling us about it. I mean, it's right here.
Called Restored, A Journey from Abuse to Deliverance. Big part of that book is, my faith was a huge part of getting me to a better place. And, God himself has just been amazing in my life. And what he's done, I can't speak of. I can't explain the details, the things, but it's because of that faith and, getting some help, like I said, and figuring out that, okay, wait a minute, this is a problem and I need to fix it. And realizing every single relationship, not even just, intimacy or anything like that, but friendships, everything, what you go through affects every single one of those things. So going forward, your reactions to everything you do and say, I think most people go through life with all of these things and not realizing that those things have a huge impact on what they are right now.
Well, the cover looks great. You're really looking like Mr. Nelson's Moon, Mr. Nelson's angel up there on the front cover. I really loved it. You did a phenomenal job. It says it's releasing June 1st, available at Barnes & Nobles and Amazon.com.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, this is such a phenomenal thing that you're doing. Now, being that, we're talking about phenomenal women, and of course, you've come a long way on your journey. You're a future, civil rights attorney and tax attorney. So you're doing some great things. So who, past or present, is your phenomenal woman who impacted your life?
Oh, I got a few of those. If you want to talk about closer to home, I would say my mom. We grew up in a third world country, so I went through, and back then for me, what people would think is poor, I was comfortable, I was happy,
Right.
And I saw her struggle to do a lot of things to make sure we were okay as children. We were always very happy, very well fed, even though we didn't have much, so I understand that. And I love her perseverance. Even then, she left and came to this country for a better life and brought me and my brother and sister here afterwards. It was a process to go through. At one point having to leave us as children there before we came here. And then as far as in the legal world, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is a big one for me.
Okay.
I love her. I just love her. I mean, one of the purest hearts there is about just people. You got to love people to want to even do the job that I'm trying to do. You got to really care enough to, think about what's going on with them and how you can truly help them. See, most people at the time, in any situation at times, sometimes they just want somebody to hear them. They just want somebody willing to listen, and you take the listening, you hear them, listen, soak it in, and then go, okay, what can I do to help you get to the next step? It doesn't have to be the whole thing. Sometimes it's just the next step, because the next step may open up the rest of the steps. So my hope is, as I go into, and we see the world we're living in right now, the things that are happening around us. And for me, the more I see the things, is the more I go, okay, law school, I'm ready.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, let's get it. Because I'm like, really?
Yeah. No question. You're juggling so much. I mean, you're a wife, you're a mom, you're working on being an attorney, you're an author. What advice would you offer other women who may be out there who are feeling so overwhelmed? They don't feel like they can juggle, pursuing all their dreams. What advice would you offer them?
Don't stop. Don't stop. I think the best advice I can give anyone, because even me, I mean, there are times I was just saying to my husband, I need a vacation. I need a minute. You're going to have those burnout minutes. And I mean, I'm sure you do a lot as well. Time management is huge. You know what I'm saying? It's huge. You got to have a team. My team, my family, my husband, it's a team. A team makes the dream work. You don't do it by yourself. And especially when you have a family and children. For me, when my children sleep, I'm studying. When my children go to bed, 4 or 5 in the morning, I'm up before I get, up with my prayer line or do what I need to do. And you try to find the time. But the one thing I never forget is God always has to be present in everything I do.
Amen.
He comes first in everything I do, because I wouldn't be standing here having a conversation with anybody without him allowing me to have that conversation with anybody. So,
all right. Don't get me shouting in here now, Sandrian.
Girl, listen, I've come past, near death situations. I've come past a lot of things. And I tell people my purpose is not necessarily for me. It is to do what he asked me to do. And that is what it is. So with that, I make sure I go get my instructions, do what I need to do with him. And all right, God, we on today, what we doing? Where you want me to be at? Who do you need me to bless? And that's more or less where I'm at. That's it. But anyone that wants to do this, you can do it. I'm going to tell them that first, female or not, you can do whatever you feel like doing. I tell that to my children. And at the end of the day, just find some time, manage your time in increments, however you need to, and also take some time for you. Breathe, sit back, take a day off, and just keep moving. Just keep moving. No matter what the obstacle is, keep going. There's always a yes after a million no's. So
yes, definitely.
That's what I can tell you. There's always a yes. After, I mean, I came into this children's book game with very little information. And when I tell you, I've met some amazing people on groups, Facebook, otherwise, even now Clubhouse, find resources and share them. That's the other thing. Black folk need to do more. Share your resources. Share them, because people just want someone to say, like I said earlier, just someone to listen. One little thing. How did you do that? And be willing to share it. So I share anything I have. I mean,
the blessing isn't a blessing until you can pass it along. And on this journey, I've learned the same thing. You have to be willing to share the information, because there's going to be someone that's coming behind you like, hey, how did you do this? Like, how do I get from point A to point B to point C? You have to be willing to share that information. And so, of course, you said you got into the children's game. You have a new children's book coming out, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Itty Bitty Betty and the Cookies. That one, it's more of a fun book. This one is more, rhymey and, a little fun. You laugh at the end of this one. The kids love it. My daughter's 12. She read it. She's like, oh, I like this one. So I was like, okay, 12-year-old got it. Then it's going to do what it needs to do for, 0 to 8-year-olds.
Awesome.
Now, it's cute.
With your rhyming book, what are you hoping audience will learn from that?
Well, from this one, this is a precocious little girl who wanted something, and even in the midst of falling, she was willing to go back and get it. So it's more or less a lesson. She learns a lesson in the story also. She learns some lessons from her mom about patience and other things. However, you can realize, I want children to grasp from the story that even though she went through an obstacle, she was willing to get up and still go back, and that is the lesson you want them to learn. There are times, yes, that for a child, they need to go about things a little different. Remember that their parent, is the force right there that they're going to need to depend on for certain things because of their age group and they're, fragile. But the lesson is just amazing. Like I said, I want to make sure I push. I want little Black kids to look at books that look like them. and there's none. So I'm pushing this, this book is the first in a series. And we had an accompanying, coloring activity book with this one. Two versions actually of the coloring activity. One has like a semi-colored front cover, and the other has a fully covered cover. And I'm hoping to do some more and translate that also into Spanish. But the little girl is multicultural, and I'm just trying to make sure we keep our children in front of these things and remind them it's not just the other children you can see. I want you to see yourself in this little girl and the amazing thing that she does and learns in the story. So it's going to be pretty fun.
Awesome. Now, where can people go find the book and support you at?
Well, my children's book, you can find me on www.nelsonmoonkids.com. And for me and my other book, which we're talking about earlier, you can follow me on Drea JD _ Esquire 36 on Instagram. We are putting together some stuff for that book. It's kind of pre-taste about what's going to happen with this one is big for me because it took so much to birth this book. It took me years to do this. And if it wasn't me getting ready for law school and someone saying to me, you need to write this all came from my personal statement.
Right.
Having to write a personal statement as a part of my law school applications. And the lady who went over the application and that personal statement, she said, you need to write this. This is amazing. And that was like the last push because I heard that over the years before about my story and what it could do. And it is now, my ministry. It is everything for me. I'm, wanting to grab these young women and really help them steer themselves in a place that it is okay. You're going to get through it and it's going to be all right down the road. You don't have to live like this, be like this, and consume your whole life with the pain that you've endured. So that is the purpose of this. And I'm going to hopefully keep on making some gold that does something and move some people. And, that's my whole plan all the way around.
You have some phenomenal plans, and we truly appreciate you coming and sitting down with us tonight. As always, it's a pleasure to have you. I mean, you're so knowledgeable and wise and beautiful. Of course, you're welcome on our platform anytime.
You'll make me think I got gold hairs in here.
I want to invite our audience, of course, to go and support Sandrian Nelson-Moon on her IG at Drea JD Esquire 36, of course, and you can go pick up her children's book too at nelsonmoonkids.com for more information about what she's doing. Yeah, she's doing some phenomenal things. I'm going to show you her book that's coming out in June. Make sure you be on the lookout for that and go follow her like ASAP, like run over there. Check her out on her IG page so you can be the first to get your autographed copy when her book comes out in June, and also her children's book as well. So I appreciate you sitting down tonight as a phenomenal woman and telling us all the phenomenal things that you're doing to impact our world as a whole.
I'm trying.
You're doing it. All right, we'll see you soon. Of course, make sure you tune in. Tomorrow, of course, we'll have a great special guest who's a celebrity therapist, as well as we'll have one on Thursday as well, who's actually an infection disease specialist who will be telling us some great things. So without further ado, we're ending this broadcast, and thank you for tuning in to the I Am Phenomenal Woman Bright Books Tour. Have a blessed evening. Peace.
Bye.